In the middle of the night, I was walking in my sleep. This is a little bit later than I usually do a societal rape. But is it ever too late to rape society? Is it ever the wrong time? The answer is no. It happens when I feel like it, when you least suspect. See, society is just walking along in the middle of the night, and she meets a man. A man named the Fakesagan. He's charming. She feels comfortable with him. She instantly feels a connection like she's known him all of her life. And then, when she least suspects it, he slips her that roofie. And in goes that big D. And the societal rape commences. Let's check out some headlines. That's what I feel like doing. Twitter fight round two. Trump trolls lying. Pelosi with pic of her and Medvedev. Pelosi responds. Okay. Interesting. Check this out. Trump seems to be having himself a fun Friday afternoon, trolling Democratic congressional leaders on Twitter. It's funny already. Just a couple of hours ago, Chuck Schumer received Trump's first shot across the bow, and now he's turned his focus to Nancy Pelosi for having close ties to Russia and lying about it. I hereby demand a second investigation after Schumer of Pelosi for her close ties to Russia and lying about it. This most recent Trump tweet was apparently derived from a Politico article posted earlier today, which revealed a picture of Pelosi in a meeting with Russian Ambassador Sergei Kislyak, just after she had denied ever meeting him. House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi, Democrat of California, said Friday that she's never met with the current Russian ambassador, Sergei Kislyak. Not with this Russian ambassador, no, Pelosi told Politico's Jake Sherman and Anna Palmer during a playbook interview when asked if she'd ever met with the Russian envoy. But a file photo from Pelosi's 2010 meeting with Russian President Dmitry Medvedev shows Kislyak at the table across from Pelosi, then House Speaker, and Representative Steny Hoyer. Medvedev had been in the country for a meeting with President Barack Obama a day earlier and stopped in on Capitol Hill to meet with congressional leaders as well. Meanwhile, Pelosi's team scrambled to correct the record, saying that Nancy had made a simple mistake and meant that she had never had a solo meeting with Kislyak. Asked to square Pelosi's comments with the photo of the meeting, a spokesman said that Pelosi had simply meant she never had a solo meeting with Kislyak. Of course that's what she meant, said the spokesman, Drew Hamill. She's never had a private one-on-one with him. Of course, just yesterday, Pelosi called for Sessions' resignation, saying, anything less than resignation or removal from office is unacceptable. When did diplomacy become a crime? That's what I want. That's what I don't understand about all this. What's up, Vernon Force? How you doing? What's up, Michael Scott? Good evening. Good evening? Well, we're getting into semantics now. Is it late evening or early morning? I'm not sure. What's up, Speaker Box? How you doing? Jeff Sessions is a cunt. Um, why do you say that? I'm just asking. By the way, how are the graphics on the screen looking? It looks a little fuzzy to me. Is it fuzzy? Is it coming in all right? I heard that the DP has ripped off my format for live streams. They're kind of they're putting the chat up on the screen now. Next thing you know, they'll be taking their shirts off, posing for sexy pictures. Man. Always imitated, but never duplicated. Such is the lot of the Fakesagan. He's an old school Klansman and super anti-weed. Was he actually in the Ku Klux Klan? Or was he just like caught in a photo with them or something like that? Was he actually a card holding member? Did the Klan have cards? Did they have membership cards? Raptor Man, what do you think of Brett Keane? You guys know what I think of Brett Keane. I've only made 100 videos about Brett fucking Keane. You shouldn't have to ask me that question. Aspire Zakura, what state are you in, by the way? A state of bliss. The bliss that one can only derive from raping society on a Friday night. When the mood is right. He said, I thought the KKK were good guys until I found out they smoked weed. He never said that, you asshole. You are making that up, sir. What is that? Weed is for niggers. Put that away. Have a little bit more self-respect. Come on. What's that quote from? Whoever answers first gets mod privileges. Verdant Force says, from what I understand, Jeff Sessions was affiliated with the Klan. Huh. Well, let's look it up. Let's fact check that. I want to find out. I really want to know. Jeff Sessions, KKK. Let's see. I'm just curious. I mean, if it turns out to be true. Holy shit, he really said that thing about the KKK smoking weed. You've got to be fucking kidding me. What an asshole. Oh, man. I thought you were making it up. Let's see here. Let's see what we've got here. This is from Wikipedia, by the way. Thomas Figures, a black assistant U.S. attorney, testified that Sessions said he thought the Ku Klux Klan was okay until I found out they smoked pot. Sessions later said that the comment was not serious, but did apologize for it, saying that he considered the Klan to be a force for hatred and bigotry. Okay, but was he ever a member, though? I mean, that is a pretty ridiculous comment to make, and I've heard about Sessions when it comes to pot. I was watching a video by I think the guy's name is 1791L or something similar. He makes a lot of videos deconstructing the mainstream media, and the guy made a video about Sessions where he said that he had American History X. Yes, that's right. That's right, Aspire Zakura. Unfortunately, you already have mod privileges, so the only thing you get is my personal high five. Kudos to you for placing that quote. So yes, anyway, 1791L was saying that that Sessions would be the perfect conservative if not for the fact that he's irrationally biased against pot smoking. Speakerbox says, about your Crowder versus tranny mayor debate. Haven't actual trannies been using the sex's bathroom they identify as for years now? I don't think making any laws will make a difference. Well, laws will make a difference. It'll limit their rights. They won't be able to use the bathroom they identify with anymore. That will change. I think the whole thing is just really silly. I do. Raptor Man says, "Are refugees welcome here?" You mean here in this live stream? Fakesagan Rape Society Volume 9? Yes, refugees are welcome here. The more, the merrier. Please come and culturally enrich my live stream. Verdant Force says he loved American History X. I love American History X for the same reason I love The Room. Because it's just a great movie to laugh at for how bad it is. It's a horrible fucking movie. I mean, it's very. It must have given us at least 100 memes, but just analyzing it on its merits as a film, it's pretty terrible. It's not a very good movie. Speakerbox says, but nobody will know they're a tranny unless you check their pants. Yeah, that was one of the arguments that the mayor made in her debate with Crowder. She said, what are you going to do about the quote-unquote passable transgenders that you can't immediately spot just by looking at them? How are you going to keep them out of the bathroom of their choice? And it does kind of raise that question. I mean, what are they going to do? How will this be enforced? I guess I really don't. Hey, what's up, Lord Gricknash? How you doing? You're up late. Welcome to this special late night edition of Fakesagan Rape Society. Tommy and Greg teamed up together again for a new movie. No shit, Michael Scott. When's it coming out? Is it going to be like The Room 2? The Revenge? Does Tommy come back from the dead? Can you give me some detail? I'm really I'm interested to know what their next film project is going to be. I am genuinely curious about that. But in the meantime, while you answer that question, let's check out some more headlines here. Let's see what else is going on in the news. Juncker has meltdown while debating future of EU. Shit, what do you want us to do? Oh, I gotta check this out. This ought to be good. There should be no doubt that the current status of the European Union, it's crumbling before our very eyes. Between the sprawling, unaccountable bureaucracy in Brussels, the unpayable debts, the unfettered immigration, and the unprecedented emergence of conservative nationalistic groups, it's obvious that the EU is not long for this world. No nation can survive those pressures, much less a loosely held 24-year-old political union consisting of a wide variety of languages and cultures. And this fact is beginning to show, not just because nations like the UK have already voted to leave the EU, and talk of independence referendums is spreading like wildfire across the continent. This fact is beginning to show on the faces and lips of the EU's leaders. Currently, EU Parliament members are debating about what direction the Union should go in following Brexit, in an effort to keep the Union together. Some have proposed bringing back the EU back to the days when it was a modest trading bloc with no political authority. Others think that the only way forward is to strengthen the EU and turn it into a federal union much like the United States. And during that debate, Jean-Claude Juncker, the president of the European Commission, appeared to have a little breakdown. When Juncker was criticized for wanting to consult ordinary Europeans on what they should do, this is what happened. Oh, I've got to watch this video. We're about to check this out.
Vous avez bien senti que parmi les options que nous présentons, il y a une qui me plaît beaucoup plus que les 4 autres. Mais si nous faisions cela, on tuerait le débat. On crie sur tous les toits de l'Europe qu'il faut débattre, qu'il faut que nous retrouvions le chemin vers nos concitoyens, nos électeurs, qui sont des citoyens et non seulement des électeurs, et lorsqu'on le fait, on le critique. Mais merde, je dirais merde, si on n'était pas au Parlement européen. Que voulez-vous que nous fassions? 2. Le groupe socialiste et mon ami Gianni, qui n'est plus...
Yeah, he seems a bit perturbed, I must say. After listening to their rambling speeches, a thunderous-looking Mr. Juncker replied, "What I will say to those who think that the Commission has chosen poorly is that in Europe you can't have enough innovation. There are many traditionalists, many conservatives who cannot accept changing a method, and my method has been criticized. The approach of making a number of proposals which had thought put into them, but which have never been discussed with the broader public. That has been the approach that has been criticized." He added, so we are putting forward on this occasion a number of different scenarios, not all of them met with approval. I'm sure that you will understand that amongst the scenarios put forward, there is one that I would like more than the other 4. But if we were simply to put that forward, then there wouldn't be any discussion and voices would be raised against us, saying that we had stifled the debate and saying that we had not listened to the voices of our citizens. Finally losing his temper at the catch-22 situation, he then raged, "But shit, I would say shit if we weren't in the EU Parliament. What do you want us to do?" Those are not the words of a leader who is confident in the future. This exasperation reeks of defeat. And in any case, what he said basically sums up the biggest problem with the EU. It's run by unelected bureaucrats who don't have to consult ordinary people on what to do. And those political systems rarely survive for very long. Troubling portents. Very, very troubling. So let's scroll up here and see if I got an answer from Michael Scott. Check out the trailer Best Friends. Tommy plays a mortician. Oh, that's the perfect role for him. he looked like a fucking mortician in the room. I believe Greg wrote this next one, if I recall correctly. You know what? I think I'm going to have to check out this trailer. I think I need to see this. Actually, nah. You know, we'll pass on it for now. I'll check it out later when the live stream's over because people will only be able to hear it and not see it. That doesn't make for a good live stream. Speakerbox says, I think if Marine Le Pen is elected in France, the EU is done. The EU should just rename itself to the West Bloc and be honest about their intentions. Fucking Reds. Well, I guess we'll see. I think it'll continue on in some form, but it just won't have as much influence as it has. And they're probably going to end up taking on some new members, like states that they wouldn't have admitted membership to before. They're going to get desperate. That's my prediction. Let's check out some more headlines here. What is going on in the news? The mainstream is circling the wagons. They're coming for all of us. It's an orchestrated attack against truth. Okay. Within hours of the election of Donald Trump, the mainstream media, their political counterparts, and social media operatives began spreading the narrative that the president was only elected as a result of the dissemination of fake news. And let me interject and say that His opponent, Hillary Clinton, made the same claim. She called out Alex Jones and InfoWars by name. Returning to the article here. The term itself became a rallying cry for everyone, from major search engines to massive social media websites, who said they would create fact-checking teams within their organizations to ensure only legitimate news and information would be listed on their respective platforms. Soon the leftist media began spreading lists, none of which were backed with any factual evidence, of supposed fake news purveyors and Russian propaganda websites. The lists included some of the most highly trafficked non-mainstream websites and aggregators around the world. As these Silicon Valley behemoths and popular news organizations mobilized, so too did mainstream advertising agencies, one of which quickly pulled advertising from the purported king of fake news, conservative-leaning news organization Breitbart. The battle was clearly on, and to this day it continues in earnest. Legitimate news is being buried in feeds and search engine pages, while the effort to directly attack the revenue of alternative media websites continues to expand. Several weeks ago, Mike Adams of naturalnews.com penned an alert in which he reported that a shadow organization had contacted him with an offer to either help them take down InfoWars founder Alex Jones or be destroyed. Adams, being a long-time proponent of free speech and liberty, took to the internet to expose them instead. Naturally, the skeptics laughed it all off as another conspiracy theory. Except just days after Natural News posted the warning, InfoWars was suddenly dropped by one of the world's largest online advertising agencies, reportedly costing the network some $3 million in revenue. And within a week of that attack, the largest search engine in the world delisted some 140,000 naturalnews.com pages from their search results. While this may seem like no big deal for the average reader today, what these recent actions demonstrate is that a conglomerate of traditional news media, big business, and political operatives are actively working to suppress the reporting of information that runs counter to the mainstream agenda. First, they come for the purveyors of truth and information that has remained hidden from the masses for decades. Next, they will come for those who publicly discuss their views and ideas on social media and other forums. And while you may not fall into any of these two categories, make no mistake. As SGT report warns in the following must-watch report, one day they will come for you too. They'll be coming for all of us because this is an orchestrated attack against truth. I cannot imagine living in a time in the United States where this is allowed to stand. Now, let's check this out.
Hey friends, Sean from SGT Report with a video I really don't want to make. It wasn't on my schedule or agenda to make this video today. I've got an interview with Ken Shorjan that I need to finish editing and post for you guys. It's a really gripping conversation about the foundation of Israel and the Rothschilds and what's really going on geopolitically, how much of it is contrived, how much of it is biblical. That interview is going to have to wait until at least tomorrow because now I feel compelled to make this video about Mike Adams in Natural News. Because in the words of, and I had to look the name up of this man because I remembered the quote, I didn't know who said it, Martin Niemöller, first they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I didn't speak out because I was not a Jew. And then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me. I just want to address how insidious and evil this attack on truth media has now become, and how truly evil Google is being. They have blacklisted Natural News, which is a completely Orwellian attack on not only free speech, but on truth. And of course, as you guys already know, InfoWars has been under attack with its ad provider, adroll.com, dropping them. Now Natural News has been delisted by Google. So let's just quickly take a look at what that means, because at first, it might just make you think that new posts from Natural News just won't come up in a Google feed. It's even worse than that. Today, when you Google Natural News, the first thing that comes up that catches your eye is this hit piece from Gizmodo, which is a very popular website, the title of which is Google Blacklists Natural News, the web's leading authority on DIY Ebola vaccines. You want to talk about a hit job? What a stupid headline that is. But you're going to notice that all of the mainstream Mockingbird media is circling the wagons with ad hominem hit pieces against Mike Adams. The article reads, yesterday the website Natural News had roughly 140,000 of its pages delisted from Google. Now the site's owner, Mike the Health Ranger Adams, is crying foul. He claims that companies like Google are anti-Trump globalists who are waging a war against speakers of truth. But the evidence suggests, they write, there's no anti-conspiracy website conspiracy here. If you scroll down, it says, officially Google won't say why the site was delisted from search results, but the company does confirm that it happened. And in this Gizmodo hit piece, they say, Natural News is notorious for spreading false information about health and wellness. And if I personally ran Google, this author writes, I'd definitely train my algorithmic robots to at least roll their robotic eyes at the shit Natural News posts. Welcome to the world of Google, Big Brother Orwellian tyranny. So we can see Google's plan. They're going to crush Natural News. Gizmodo is a huge site. But if we scroll down the page, the very first return we see after the Facebook return is this one from Science Blogs. Google delists Mike Adams' naturalnews.com. His hilarious tantrum about the conspiracy behind it is epic, as is my schadenfreude. This despicable, fake news, probably Soros-sponsored piece of trash website, scienceblogs.com, goes on to disparage and I think libel Mike Adams. Now, I just want to read a brief snippet of this piece of trash to you so you understand that the powers that be are now in the process of trying to destroy Mike Adams. They're not just trying to put an end to Natural News. They're not just trying to kill his traffic. They're trying to destroy the man who I think has a very good heart and who I think has been on the side of humanity for a very long time. So I'll quote this piece of trash blog. This is scienceblogs.com. Quote, regular readers here are probably familiar with Mike Adams and his website, naturalnews.com. Forget the anti-vaccine crank blog, Age of...
I'm going to cut him off there. We get it. We get what happened. Continuing on with the article. As of this morning, Google has reinstated naturalnews.com, though the original reasons provided by Google, which claimed this was a technical issue involving a small number of outdated pages on the website, were unable to be duplicated by numerous well-known SEO websites and cyber sleuths. Curiously, as Health Ranger Mike Adams notes in his statement on the censorship, the very same technical issues actively exist on mainstream websites like CNN and Huffington Post, though their pages have yet to be delisted in the same manner as Natural News. Based on the evidence, we are hard-pressed to find any legitimate reason for why Mike Adams' 140,000 pages would have been delisted, save for the fact that this was a direct attack against his alternative viewpoints on health, politics, and a number of other issues. And though Google as an organization may not have been fully aware of the reasons behind the delisting, someone had to push the button. That the button push came just days after the aforementioned warning Mike received to either play ball or be destroyed is highly suspicious. Boy. What do you guys think about that one? Seems like Google is cracking down on that fake news. I don't know, we might be in trouble. Stephen Dixon. The guy in the video doesn't understand the difference between advertisers, corporations, and the government. Well, would you concede, Stephen Dixon, that they work in conjunction with one another? I mean, there's a confluence between private industry and government when it comes to the spy infrastructure that we have in place in the United States. We know that Google is cooperating with the NSA. Um, Ed Snowden himself was a private contractor. I mean, does it matter where the censorship is coming from? Google delisting them doesn't prove their legitimacy. It doesn't disprove it either. Look, Aspire. I don't think the legitimacy of Natural News, which is a website I've never checked out myself. By the way, I'm not into all that holistic medicine jibba jabba, but I'm not concerned about what their legitimacy is. What I'm concerned with is unpopular views being suppressed. For example, the Chinese government censored all websites concerning the Falun Dafa cult. And while I certainly don't believe that there's a life wheel in my stomach, I still don't like the idea of the government hiding information from me. I think that people should be allowed to decide for themselves what is legitimate and what isn't. I don't think we need gatekeepers deciding that for us. Agree? Disagree? Stephen Dixon says, if you're comparing it to an Orwellian nightmare, then yeah, it matters. This isn't the fucking government. It is a private company deciding not to propagate objectively false claims. Stephen Dixon, I'm just going to go ahead and say I consider companies such as Google to be quasi-governmental. And you can disagree with me about that. But I think if you examine the institutional role they occupy, then I'm confused. Okay, so why am I confused? Why am I confused? I mean, do you at least concede that they are working hand in glove with the NSA to spy on us? See, I wouldn't make the same claim about Apple. I'm singling out Google for a reason. Because it's a private company. Well, so what? Raytheon is a private company. But it's certainly part of the military-industrial complex. It more closely resembles a government entity than does, say, for example, General Mills or Disney Corporation. Well, no, not hand and glove, hand in glove. No, they do what is required by law, like literally every company in the U.S. Um, no, they go above and beyond what's required by law. Yeah, I'll draw the analogy to ISPs and DMCA takedown requests. A DMCA notice isn't actually a legal order. So some ISPs decide to respond to these and other ISPs decide to ignore them. They have a choice, right? And the ones that respond, I would say that's collusion with the government. Source, I'm not gonna cite sources while I'm in the middle of doing a live stream, Steve. You must be new. No, I'm not gonna disrupt my show to go do Google searches about why Google sucks. But when the government comes to tech giants requesting personal information about you and I, some play ball and others do not. Apple refused to play ball. Google was very enthusiastic about handing over as much data as they could. Aspire Zakura says, "You're right, censorship of any kind is disgusting. By what right do they decide what is true and false? It's bullshit." I just, about an hour ago, Aspire Zakura, I wasted an hour of my life watching a debate between Stefan Molyneux and a flat Earth proponent. And as I was watching this, some of the thoughts going through my mind, I mean, the first and foremost thought was, I'm at the epicenter of the internet right now. There is nothing that screams internet more than watching Steph Bot debating a flat earther. And then I thought to myself, I really kind of wish this whole flat earth thing would go away. When it first started, I thought, oh, that's a clever and innovative way to troll people. This is kind of funny. This is kind of amusing. But as it began to gain traction and more people hopped onto that bandwagon, I was like, boy, this is getting kind of creepy. I just wish this whole thing would go away. But reading the article that I just read has changed my point of view. Now I'm kind of grateful that there are still things like flat earth theory on the internet. I don't want truth police going around and censoring anything they deem to be fake. I feel that I, as a thinking person, can exercise my own discretion and common sense, entertain a notion like that, and then dismiss it as it should be dismissed. I don't need somebody protecting me from pseudoscience, from phony news reporting. I think I have enough common sense to be able to do that myself. Aspire says, the whole fake news thing stinks of 1984 to me. It reminds me of the TSA stuff. They claim to protect you from danger in order to limit your freedom. Now they are going to claim to protect us from fake news and use it to censor politically inconvenient opinions. I do think that's what's going on. I think that alternative media was the chief engine through which Donald Trump took the White House. And his opponent was heavily favored by the powers that be, the Washington establishment, and they're not happy. They're not happy that an outsider came and swept the election away from them. And they don't want that to ever occur again. So they've correctly identified the problem, which is alternative media, and they're targeting them for destruction in a very systematic way. Copter 4 says, yo, what y'all talking about? Alt media? Yeah, we talk about that quite a bit here in Fakesagan Rape Society. It's a recurring theme. Aspire says, the problem is if you silence people, you don't stop them thinking or believing things, you just drive it underground. When bad ideas can't be debated, they go unchallenged. That's another good point. That is definitely another good point. You allow it to fester. Sunlight is the best disinfectant. I agree 100%, Aspire. Mean Mr. Mustard asks, when will the next war happen? I need to know. Are we talking about real wars or bullshit one-sided wars like like the Iraq War or Afghanistan? Are we talking about a world war? Is that what you're asking? You got to be a little bit more specific for me. Real, real. Well, I do think we staved um, large scale global conflict off by averting a Clinton presidency. I think if Hillary had been elected, we would be on the verge of war with the Russian Federation right now. And in fact, that is the reason why I voted for Donald Trump. It had nothing to do with xenophobia or sexism or me wanting a wall to be erected along our southern border. It had everything to do with the belligerent, hawkish rhetoric that I heard coming from the Clinton campaign. Tough talk about Iran, tough talk about Russia. That isn't something that I was prepared to vote for. So that is the reason why the reality TV star got my vote. Copter Force says the problem I see is that the mainstream corporate news media is crap, yellow journalism. But I see the same thing in the alt media, even worse. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that, Copter Force. I do think that the alternative media has been suffering as of late. You look at sites like Breitbart and even InfoWars, and they have degenerated to the point of I would say there was a time when they were reporting truth, and now it's like the alternative media has just become right-wing propaganda. I do agree with that. But it's a backlash, and that's what's going on. The speaker box says Google is a private company, so they should be able to do what they want. With that being said, I think they shouldn't get involved in their search results. Well, you're contradicting yourself there, speaker box. In the very same sentence, you said they're a private company and they should be able to do what they want. But then you go on to say they shouldn't get involved in their search results. And I understand why you're saying they shouldn't get involved, because Google is such a massive monopoly on the internet, and they are essentially the gatekeepers of information on the internet, that you consider their search engine to be vital infrastructure. And maybe you wouldn't go as far as recommending that infrastructure should be nationalized, but you'd like them to take a laissez-faire approach, and they're not necessarily going to do that because they're a private company. They've got carte blanche. They can do whatever the fuck they want. I do think that's a problem. And I don't see that there's much of a viable alternative. I mean, we've got these tracking free search engines like DuckDuckGo, which is powered by Yandex, the Russian alternative to Google. But if you look at the trends on Alexa, which I have, even in Russia, more people are using Google for their internet searches than they're using their own native alternative version, Yandex. So Google does have a death grip on internet traffic. And, frankly, I think we should be worried about that, considering their track record when it comes to human rights. They were more than happy to work with the Chinese government to censor information from the Chinese public. I think that's very disturbing. They definitely collude with the NSA against the American people. I mean, Google has a horrible track record. YP, how you doing? What's up? It's good to see you here. Welcome to Fakesagan Rape Society, Volume 9, the late night edition. There are always world problems that need solving. And I'm just the one to do it. And I'm going to crack my knuckles and get down to business right after this brief smoke break. Y'all stay tuned for Fakesagan Rape Society, Volume 9. All right, let's get back to the fake news, by which, of course, I mean the real news. Zero hedge. Let's see what's next on the docket here. Austria to stop giving food, shelter to rejected asylum seekers. What is to be done? The entirety of the world has... Oh, this is an opinion piece. I'm not so crazy about those. The West submits to blasphemy laws. This is another opinion piece. TSA launches invasive pat-downs with more intimate contact than before. Okay, I think I'm going to go ahead and check this one out. As a result of a study which found that weapons routinely make it past airport security, the TSA is introducing more rigorous and comprehensive physical inspections at airports around the country, according to Bloomberg. The security agency, which until now had the option of using 5 different types of physical pat-downs in the screening line, is eliminating the options and replacing them with a single universal method, which would involve heavier groping. The Transportation Security Administration made the announcement to its agents this week, and in the case of Denver International Airport employees, advised employees that flight crews on Thursday that the more rigorous searches will be more thorough and may involve an officer making more intimate contact than before. In an ominous warning, TSA spokesman Bruce Anderson told Bloomberg that people who in the past would have gotten a pat-down that wasn't involved will notice that the new pat-down is more involved. The shift from the previous risk-based assessment on which pat-down procedure an officer would apply was phased in over the past 2 weeks and after tests at smaller airports. In their notice, Denver airport officials said employees are subject to search at random locations. If a pat-down is required as part of the operation, badged employees will be required to comply with the TSA officer's request to conduct a full-body pat-down. The new policy will also apply to pilots and flight attendants classified as known crew members, who generally receive less scrutiny at checkpoints. The TSA conducts occasional random searches of these employees, and airlines this week inquired as to whether their employees would be subject to more frequent pat-downs. The number of random searches for airline crews isn't changing and will remain a very small percentage of the total, Anderson said. But airport employees may face more random checks. Anyone who declines use of the TSA's existing conventional scanner screen will be subject to the new pat-down. The TSA currently screens about 2 million people daily at U.S. airports. The agency doesn't track how many passengers are subject to pat-down searches after they pass through an imaging scanner. The TSA has been criticized in recent years for its overall screening techniques after an internal investigation by Homeland Security in 2015 found that the TSA failed an unbelievable 95% of airport security tests, allowing undercover agents to successfully and repeatedly smuggle mock explosives and banned weapons through checkpoints in the country's busiest airports. As a result, the TSA has been in desperate need of change, and the physical inspection would be a good place to start. That said, the agency has been ridiculed for years for causing delays at airports and being largely ineffective at detecting contraband. The good news is that while passengers may find the new pat-down more intrusive, Anderson promised that the new screening procedure isn't expected to increase overall airport security delays. However, for the person who gets the pat-down, it will slow them down. As Bloomberg adds, in December, a CNN political commentator, Angela Rye, posted an article online describing her humiliation during a TSA agent's search. Rye wrote in graphic detail about the pat-down of her genitals during a search at the Detroit airport before a flight to New York. TSA officials didn't immediately address whether the new universal pat-down protocol will mandate touching of passenger genitals. While the physical screening process has been a stress point for the TSA practically since its inception, the agency has tried to make travelers more comfortable by pairing them up with people of the same gender for pat-downs, and also giving people the option of being inspected in a private room. However, at the cost of substantial travel delays. However, as some have mused out, it still doesn't answer one of the most confounding questions about the TSA. Is America really any safer because some underpaid worker grabbed a pussy at the airport? Oh, I love you, Zero Hedge. Yeah, TSA. I've run amok of those guys plenty of times. Zdrovo Fakey. Zdrovo, Baron of Lels. Sedobra. Maxim Murr says, Trump has been taped in the past saying that states should continue to determine the marijuana question, but now I feel a rollback coming. Yeah, I think that I think a crackdown is in the offing. I think that they're going to start messing with states' rights. Copter Force says, spend more money on more cops. Always the answer. More people in uniforms harassing people with a bad attitude, not protecting and serving, not making us any safer. Mm, mm. See, society is just begging for the rape. That's why this live stream is so important, now more than ever. Aspire says, speaking of marijuana, how do you motivation to stay away from drugs? Asking for a friend. How do I motivate myself to stay away from drugs? Um, hmm. I guess I'll answer that question with a question of my own. I have been asking myself ever since I quit smoking weed how I motivated myself to do it for such a long time. How I motivated myself to waste so much of my income on something that I'm going to light on fire and, be distracted for maybe half an hour before the buzz wears off because my tolerance got so monstrously high. Um, I think pot is a waste of money. I think drugs in general are kind of a waste of money and time. And all they really do is sap your productivity. So I guess you can tell your friend that, and chances are that advice will fall upon deaf ears. People do what's right for them, and if your friend is going to change, that motivation will have to come from him or her. I don't think that anything I say is going to make a big change in somebody else's life. Copter Force says, I don't really fly anywhere much when I have never ran into the TSA other than at the checkpoint taking shoes off and all that. Yeah, they actually they you can run afoul of the TSA without ever flying. They also have jurisdiction over trains, if I'm not mistaken. And I believe you can even run into them at bus stations. They also apparently have a roving division that enforces security measures on U.S. highways. I believe they call it the TSA Viper Division. I would have to double check on that. But yeah, they're actually quite a bit more expansive than most people think. Where I've gotten fucked with is at the train in Los Angeles. That's where I live. Yeah, see? So there you go. That's what I'm talking about. They're not just at the airports. That's a misconception. It is not the airline security agency. They're not the ASA. They're the TSA, the transportation. So they're a governmental agency that has two parent agencies, one of which is the Department of Homeland Security, and the other is the DOT, the Department of Transportation. So you never know where you're going to run in afoul of those guys. And I think they'll probably continue to expand their authority as the war on terror progresses. And we'll see them more and more. Maxim Murr says, I don't like it because it means more tax money to build more prisons for more stupid marijuana drug convictions. Aspire Zakura says, you kind of answered your own question to distract yourself for half an hour. But it isn't even really much of a distraction, Aspire. I mean, nobody gets high just to get high. Even the most dedicated dude weed 420 blaze it faggot talks about what they're going to do. It's like, get stoned and play video games, get stoned and go to the park, get stoned and watch a movie. And what I would say is why can't you just play video games, go to the park, or watch a movie? Why does getting stoned have to be part of that? It seems to just be it seems to just be a condiment that people want to add to everything. Like people who smoke weed, for them it's like there's no human activity that can't be improved by getting high. And I disagree. I think it really is, and I'll draw some flack and criticism for saying this because everybody claims it's non-addictive. I disagree. I think it is an addiction in the truest sense. It's a compulsive habit. And people who do it frequently, they're doing it just to do it. They do it just because they have a compulsion. Baron of Lulz, what if I get stoned once in a while? Well, look, Baron, I'm not John Ashcroft here. I'm not a DEA spokesman. I don't care what you're doing. I don't care if you're getting high. I fully support marijuana legalization. I think that consenting adults should be able to do whatever the hell they want with their own brain. If you want to adulterate your brain with chemicals, you should have the freedom to do so. But if somebody's going to ask my opinion, like, do I think it's a healthy thing to be doing? I don't. If you're asking for my advice is, drugs are bad, okay? Don't do drugs. Drugs are bad. But I think that you should have the freedom to do it if you want to. Now, if you all will excuse me, I'm going to get back to my headlines here. See what else is going on. Middlebury professor assaulted, injured while escorting conservative speaker. Okay, I think I'm going to go ahead and check this out. In the latest literal assault on free speech at an allegedly tolerant educational institution, a Middlebury College professor was injured by protesters on Thursday evening as she was escorting a controversial speaker from campus. She was treated at Porter Hospital and released, the Addison County Independent reported. The night's event unfolded in two parts. At first, Middlebury students forced conservative American Enterprise Institute scholar Charles Murray, a political scientist who has been criticized for his views on race and intelligence, to stop his address before a campus audience Thursday night. Charles Murray was invited to speak on campus by a student group and was set to talk about his 2012 book, Coming Apart, and how its analysis of the white working class explains politics in the age of President Donald Trump. But most of the controversy over the scholar's appearance at the Vermont-based school related to his 1994 book, The Bell Curve, which connected genetics with socioeconomic outcomes, and has long been criticized by the left as racist. The Southern Poverty Law Center has called Murray a white nationalist who has used racist pseudoscience. According to the Burlington Free Press, and as seen on the video below, student protesters in the audience refused to give Murray a chance to speak, as they turned their backs to him, and chanted and shouted for several minutes before faculty members moved the scheduled speaker to a private room to deliver his address via live stream without a live audience. Yeah, let's check this out. They definitely seem to have had their jimmies rustled there. They seem a bit triggered. Despite attempts by faculty and more tolerant students to restore normalcy, the protesters refuse to compromise. We need to foster a climate where we can listen and respect differences, Middlebury's Dean of Students, Beshaki Taylor, said in an attempt to calm down the student protesters, according to the Burlington Free Press. We don't have to agree with everything. How do we engage in civil discourse? Not even appeals to the anti-Trump sentiment would sway the crowd. Alexander Kahn, a leader of the American Enterprise Institute Club, which invited Murray to speak, tried to appeal to the crowd by citing the scholar's criticism of Trump. Demonstrators jeered that that doesn't matter because Murray is still a racist. However, it was what happened next that was more troubling. As noted above, after the initial chaos, college officials led Murray to another location, and a closed-circuit broadcast showed him being interviewed by Stanger and Russell J. Lang, 60s professor of international politics and economics. As Stanger, Murray, and a college administrator left McCullough Student Center last evening following the event, they were physically and violently confronted by a group of protesters, according to Bill Berger, the college's vice president for communications and marketing. Berger said college public safety officers managed to get Stanger and Murray into the administrator's car. The protesters then violently set upon the car, rocking it, pounding on it, jumping on and trying to prevent it from leaving campus, he said. At one point, a large traffic sign was thrown in front of the car. Public safety officers were able, finally, to clear the way to allow the vehicle to leave campus. During this confrontation outside McCullough, one of the demonstrators pulled Professor Stanger's hair and twisted her neck, Berger continued. She was attended to at Porter Hospital later on, and on Friday is wearing a neck brace. Murray, who apparently was unhurt in the incident, is best known for his 1994 book, The Bell Curve, for which he was criticized for an assertion that people of different races have different economic outcomes because of their inherent difference in intelligence. The incident was so shocking, it prompted even well-known neocon Bill Kristol to tweet. What happened at Middlebury to Charles Murray threatens not just campus free speech, but free speech, indeed freedom in America generally. He then said, I may have missed them, but in light of Middlebury were the statements by college presidents, scholars, and writers defending free speech. In this particular case, Kristol is actually right, and one wonders if the tables were reversed, and if a liberal speaker had been abused in similar fashion at one of America's top liberal colleges. Just what would the media's reaction, which has largely ignored this incident, have been? Yeah, this definitely isn't one that I would have heard about if I didn't read Zero Hedge. I haven't heard the media make a peep about this. Devin Jones, are you calling me a dick? That's not very nice. Copter Force says, in the era of Vietnam, etc., civil rights, etc., it worked out, but it doesn't seem to work now. Adam Reyes says, unless you're looking to protest for 20 years, then they'll just outweight your ass. People are fucking ADHD as fuck. They think they're going to change the world with 1 week of protests. Well, it's not like that's never happened before. Yeah, as Copter Force points out, look at the Arab Spring. And that happened very quickly. Aspira Zakura says, did you see Bill Kristol's butt hurt about Trump winning the primary on MSNBC? It was glorious. I did not, Aspira. I missed that one. It sounds like it's worth checking out, though. I do love me some good butt hurt. Devin says, well, I thought I was banned, but you did a nice thing. But I'm sure you'll be a dick again. Okay. That's good to know. Actually, I'm surprised you're not banned. I was under the impression that there was no way to unban people from the live chat sessions. I kind of was under the assumption that YouTube never added that functionality, but I guess when you unblock somebody from your channel, it unblocks the live stream as well. So that's good to know. I learned something new tonight. Let's see what else we've got going on. Man, that is fucked up. They twisted her neck. And he didn't even get to give his damn presentation. Man arrested over bomb threats to Jewish groups is former Intercept reporter and anti-Trump Bernie voter. I think I'm going to go ahead and check this out. U.S. prosecutors in New York arrested a St. Louis man on Friday in connection with at least 8 bomb threats made against Jewish organizations across the country. Juan Thompson, 31, was taken into custody on Friday morning in St. Louis and was expected to make an initial court appearance there later in the day, according to Reuters. It was not immediately clear whether investigators believe Thompson is responsible for all of the more than 100 threats that have been made by phone to Jewish